Hi and welcome to this week's Walk the Wu Wei. It's lovely to be back. It's been a few weeks since we've seen you all. So tonight we are talking all about autumn and winter health and how we can best attune emotionally and physically to the seasons using traditional Chinese medicine and Taoist principles.
And this is very important in Taoist principle, is attuning to the seasons, to understanding that we are part of nature and we're not apart from nature. So as nature goes through the seasons, we should be aware of that. And sometimes living in cities and things, we kind of get disconnected from nature. So it's worth just thinking about it and seeing it, how you can incorporate it in your lives.
Yeah. And I kind of set this teaching video to do both autumn and winter because there's a great overlap. And it was only this afternoon when I started to kind of do a little bit of research, how much great stuff there is to discuss for both seasons. So this might be quite a long teaching, but I hope you enjoy it. I mean, the principle for both seasons really is that we are now moving into the yin energy months, aren't we?
So this is yin, Y-I-N, yin. So that's part of the yin and the yang. So summer and spring are more yang, thrusting forward. Yin is more reserved, coming in. So at the end of the year now, this is the time for harvest. This is a time for collecting things in, storing things away, getting attuned for the darker nights and the colder and the damp. So this is just changing your clothes, the way you eat, the sleeping patterns and things like that, in aligning with the seasons.
And we'll be talking about all the things you can do in terms of your lifestyle, your diet, your emotional health, your physical health, in almost like the second part of this video. But to begin with, I wanted to talk about the kind of principle of the autumn and what element is related to it and what organs are related to it. And then we can go through the same for winter.
Yes, so in Chinese philosophy, in Taoist philosophy, in Chinese medicine, the autumn is thought to be metal. And that relates to...
The metal element.
The metal element. And that relates to lungs and large intestine. So especially around this time of year now, October, November, this is the time to be thinking more about lungs and large intestine. So if you think about the principle of those two organs and what they do, lungs are breathing in, bringing things in. Large intestines are letting things go.
Yeah.
So this is definitely the time to be thinking about bringing in things for you.
Positive stuff.
Positive stuff
good
for
chi
you.
Energy.
Exactly. And not bringing in negative stuff and letting go of negative stuff. So for instance, this is a good time to be clearing the house out, clearing out rubbish and clearing and getting the feng shui part that you talk about. This is the time to clear the clutter, get rid of the stuff now. This time of year is very good for letting go.
Well, I mean, we can talk about it now. Now you've mentioned this kind of the cycle and the flow of qi. Before we can take stuff in, so we talk about the principle of bringing good qi energy into our lungs and our body in the autumn season. Before we can do that, we have to create space.
That's right. So this is one of the
and basic... And that's a big Taoist...
It's a big Taoist teaching. A lot of people misunderstand this when they're doing Tai Chi and those type of things. You can't force or push qi. What you have to do is to create space for qi to flow into. So letting go of things is a really good way in your home, clearing the clutter, in yourself. All those things, if you've been holding on to things, putting off things, wanting to do things.
So past memories, negative memories of things, or things that you've kind of, injustices, unfairnesses, things that you just have emotionally been unwilling to let go of.
That's right.
That's what you're saying, that's creating an energetic block. But if you can let go and you can do that practice through, all the sort of work principles and teachings we talk about on all our videos, that then allows the space to be created for the qi to be brought in through the lungs.
Yeah, so that's based on the teaching. You are not designed to hold on. You are not designed to hold on to emotions. You haven't got emotional saddlebags that you can put things in to store them for later. So when you're holding on to an emotion, whether that's anger, resentment, fear, whatever emotion it is, what you're actually doing is creating a circle, a carousel of despair.
Like an eddy, a stagnation, an eddy.
So
if it
the
was
energy
water,
is
it'd be
going
like
round and around, and you're stuck in that, and you're not letting go. You will get no benefit from holding on to emotions. Let it in, let it out. Yin yang, flow it in, flow it out, like a wave coming in and out. And so you have to let those emotions flow through you. It's quite natural. You let them flow through you. You don't hold on to emotions because you're creating that stagnation.
Okay, so, and this season, the metal season, in terms of we're nurturing the lung energy, nurturing also the large intestine energy. If we don't let go, then we have an imbalance in those organs and an imbalance in the whole of us. And that's why this season, if the energy goes out of balance, is associated with grief, sadness, holding on to stuff.
Yes.
And so that's what has to be corrected.
So as a great example is, well, now if you look as the leaves come off the trees, you see the wind blowing them around, and they don't store because they start to stagnate and mold and go rotten. And so you're moving around.
Yeah.
So it's the same with you. You don't hold on to things. You bring it in and you take it out. Let go. This is the season now in the autumn, in the metal season, to let go. And as Alex says, this relates to lungs and large intestine. So you have to be very careful if you have a tendency to suffer with physical stuff like asthma or breathing problems. So you have to be very careful this time of the year. Or if you have bowel problems, this is the time.
So the intestines, an imbalance is that you're more susceptible if you're suffering from IBS, bowel problems.
Particularly, that's what I was just going to say. Particularly those suffering with IBS. This is the time of the year where you've got to consider, so much of IBS, not all of IBS, but so much of IBS is caused by stress, red lights. And so red lights are created by when you're holding on to things, holding on to resentment, holding on to anger, fear, anxiety, those Western words, red lights we call them. And that will create the IBS, the intestine becoming tight and not letting go. So it's very important to understand this concept of receiving and letting go, receiving, like a wave coming in and out.
And then you just mentioned, if that's the stuff to do with the digestive system and making sure that's kept in balance. For the lungs, if the lung energy goes out of balance, you're more susceptible to kind of bronchitis, breathing difficulties, asthma. If you have asthma, it will be exacerbated, but also lungs associated with the kind of pathogens of breathing in pathogens of cold and flu.
Yes.
So you have to be more mindful of that.
Definitely
as well.
around this time of the year, because as the climate changes as well, you get a dampness in the climate, which will lie heavier on the lungs, and if you're susceptible, if you're weak in this area, this is particularly a time where you have to be careful of what you're breathing in. So think about putting a scarf.
Don't breathe in cold.
Exactly. Think about putting a scarf around your mouth if it's a particularly cold and damp day, and keep that warmth coming inside of you. Now, Chinese culture, you'll see quite a few of the older Chinese generation this time of the year, though you'll see them wearing scarves to keep the back of the neck warm.
Yeah, there's
because
a wind point,
there's 2 points here, which they call the wind points here.
Yeah.
And there's 2 points here, it's called the wind points. So you'll see them with scarves. So this is definitely the time of the year to be wearing scarves, keeping your neck, keeping your shoulders warm, because you'll definitely have an invasion, the Chinese call it an invasion, of cold, damp into your body this time of the year. So suffering with arthritic conditions, rheumatism, that type of thing can really be effective and allow the pathogens in.
Yeah.
And you've got to be careful. Make sure you put the coat on, especially if you're unsure. Nice heavy coat, turn the collar off, put a scarf on, and keep your neck and your shoulders warm.
And those two wind points, I mean, for me personally, I kind of have I don't know if the right word is a sensitivity there, but throughout the year, I am mindful to keep those points covered up. Because, I mean, in the UK, there's rarely a time, certainly in Derbyshire, where I feel that it's warm enough to walk around with those two parts exposed.
And so I've just thought, for those listening on a podcast who can't see us, it's on the base of the neck, either side of the spine.
Yeah.
And if you feel, you'll just feel two little indentations.
Almost between the top of the shoulder blades,
and
isn't it?
So you'll feel that there. And so keep that warm. You can turn up your collar, but keep that warm, or wear a scarf.
Yeah, great. And so we've said if the lung energy goes out of balance, or the metal energy goes out of balance, there's associated with the emotions of grief and sadness.
Yes.
But if it's in balance, and the metal season is a time for personal transformation as well,
yes.
and kind of preparedness. So it's this idea we talked about of letting go and clearing, that can be seen as a positive thing, clearing to make space for good things energetically to come into your life.
Well, again, if you look at nature, it's this idea of the wind blowing things away, clearing out the old leaves, clearing out the old rubbish.
Yeah.
So this is definitely the time now for you to clear out that stuff. This is definitely the time, if you've been putting things off, if you've been thinking, I must speak to this person. I've been wanting to say this to this person. I really want to clear that old bedroom out. I really want to clear the attic out. This is definitely the time of the year that you should be doing that. You'll actually get lots of green light feelings as when you've done it. It'll just feel like, it's almost like similar to spring, and it's a similar type of an energy.
You don't have to do, and there's a big common misunderstanding that you have to do your spring clean and you decluttering in the spring. I mean, that's a great time to do it, but actually in traditional Chinese medicine, feng shui, the autumn is also a very kind of auspicious time to be doing it.
Well, it's clearing out for the transformation, allowing transformation, and so many people get worried about living in change, and really the Taoist teaching is we are living in change. Change is who we are. It's always changing.
So it's to go with the natural,
go with the flow,
because all of nature is having a kind of spring clean again.
Absolutely.
Now, as you say, the leaves are dropping,
Absolutely.
everything's dying back.
Yes,
and so it's almost to not try and hold on and keep everything the same. It's to let go exactly the same way as in nature.
And can we talk about eating and diet?
Can we do that later?
Yeah, because this is important for this time of the year.
Yeah.
What you're eating. So again, you don't want to be eating things that are very stodgy and going to hold
Clog
heavy
you up.
on you and clog you up. Yes, I know we're going to talk about it in more detail, but I just want to bring it across to show you it's the same thing. So this is the time of the year for things like wholesome soups and things,
but with lots of fibre.
and casserole, but with lots of fibre. Exactly.
Yeah, rather than heavy carbs, like lots of kind of breads and stuff which is more stodgy.
So you want to keep that movement through your digestive system, and that's also very important.
Yeah, so a good bowl of all bran flakes in the morning will do the trick.
Let it flow.
Let it flow. So if we move on to winter then.
Yeah.
Which there's kind of a blurring really between autumn and winter, just the same as there's a blurring between summer and late summer.
Well, they all cross over into each other, and so winter is thought to be water, and water is to do with kidneys and bladder. So as we move more into the winter months, so that's more going into December and January in the UK. When the dark nights come, when the cold comes, that's where we kind of snuddle down more. That's where we're a little bit more like we go, not into a hibernation, it would be too much, but we kind of close down. We go to bed a bit earlier, perhaps. The nights draw in.
Yeah,
It's darker mornings.
It gets darker quicker at night, obviously, and then it's darker in the morning, which I absolutely hate. I hate, when it's still like it's 10 o'clock and it's still like dusky, dark. We've had several questions from our Facebook group members, and one member has asked, what do we do when it gets darker and colder and you just want to stay in and hibernate and stop in bed? Should we go with the flow of that or not?
Well, if you can, yes. But obviously, this is what I was saying about our busy lives now is that we live a very hectic life and there's always lots to do. And so therefore, we can't live so much as we would like with nature, because if we have to get into work for 7 o'clock, we're going to work in the dark and we're coming back in the dark. And we have to do that, and that's what we have to do. So I would say in those cases, if that's what you have to do, then at lunchtime, when it is a bit brighter, try and get wrapped up and put your coat on and go for a 10, 15-minute walk out in the park. Go just get out in the fresh air and get some, what's it called, the vitamin D.
D.
So get some rays on you. So again, it's being aware. Can you see what I'm saying? It's being aware.
Being sensitive to, adjusting. It's like with the seasonal affective disorder, with the lack of natural daylight, and even if you haven't got anything perhaps as kind of severe or as diagnosed as that, a general kind of tiredness or heaviness, which a lot of people describe, you do need to not assume that you can just blast through and be as energetic as you are in the summer, perhaps, or the spring when, the chi is naturally flowing more. But I would also say that it's important to, whilst acknowledging that perhaps, yes, it is a time to do things a bit more slowly, perhaps do a bit less, but it's important to keep a balance. It is important to make the effort to go out and do some exercise, to breathe in the chi of nature, to get that, as you say, the vitamin D. One person in the group asked, when's the best time of day to do a walk in winter, my daily walk? And of course, that would be, I guess, the time of the day when it's as brightest as possible, which will vary from day to day during the winter months, depending on the weather, because then at least you're getting a little bit of brightness or a bit of exposure to natural light and hopefully occasional winter sunshine.
Yeah, and again, it's finding that appropriateness for you, is being aware of the season and then finding out what works for you in your lifestyle. But if you can get out at lunchtime or mid-afternoon or mid-morning where it's a bit brighter, just wrap up warm if it's a cold day, and just breathing some fresh air. But strangely enough, some people enjoy the winter. I've got clients who say they love the winter. They love the idea of the dark nights, log fire, coal fire, get wrapped up warm, or sitting around watching a good film. And so, don't think about it as always totally negative. It's about listening to you. This is why your feelings are so important, and everyone is an individual. So listen to you. Some people love autumn. They love the idea of autumn. Walking in the woods, walking on leaves. I can tell you who in our family loves the autumn. Lily, our dog. She loves running through the leaves and throwing them up in the air.
And she likes the dampness as well.
And she loves the dampness. So please don't get the idea that just because somebody doesn't like it, it's a wrong time of the year. It's about attuning yourself. It's about recognizing yourself and balancing yourself as with the time of year. A big word in Chinese medicine and Chinese philosophy is appropriateness, to be appropriate. So as we move into winter, which is the time of coming down, be more appropriate. It's the kidney energy that gets involved here. So number one thing, as we said for the metal and the autumn, is the neck. The number one thing is your lower back. Your kidneys. Right down as in your kidneys. Keeping your kidneys warm. I shudder in the UK when you see particularly young girls walking around, I don't know what they call them, crop tops, and all the midriff is open. I shudder because the cold air is getting onto their kidneys. You must keep this
Yeah.
lower back warm.
So, well, in terms of physical health issues that are more prevalent in winter.
I think it
so
really
we're
is.
talking, if there's a deficiency in the kidney or bladder energy, or if it's out of balance, so it can be one way or the other. So it's not necessarily deficient, it can be tipped
Yes.
into excess.
But it's normally
A deficiency.
Normally
Okay,
deficiency.
so the physical symptoms you would see as a patient coming to you.
Lower back pain
Yeah.
is the number one. Hip pain or joint pain.
Oh, so arthritic conditions.
Arthritic
we said,
conditions,
more
yeah.
exacerbated.
Yes, an urgency to go to the toilet can also be a lower kidney problem and
Yeah.
a bladder problem. So when it's cold, you may notice you go to the toilet more. It could be as you get older, you notice your hair thinning or losing your hair, or your hair going grey. Hair and the kidneys are very tied
So
up.
this is an interesting thing which I read about this afternoon. Is not only is the kidney energy more susceptible in the wintertime to being deficient, but as we age, the kidney energy naturally wanes anyway.
That's the term that they use. The kidney energy is waning.
Yeah.
So, for instance, when I'm doing acupuncture treatments for clients over 50, 55, 60, I always try and tonify their kidney energy, just as a matter of course, because it's about hair, it's about hearing as well, affects your hearing.
Okay.
So as you get older, there's a degeneration in your hearing. It affects your joints, arthritic condition, lower back pain, and bad news, sexual fertility for some people can wane as you get older.
And that's in association with the kidney energy.
That's association with the kidney energy. So looking after your kidneys, keeping your lower back warm.
Yeah.
The emotion tied into that is
Fear and anxiety.
That's right. So lots of people, you'll notice particularly with older people, is when the darker nights come, you'll see them wanting to close the curtains at 3 or 4 o'clock in the evening, and they don't want to go out because the kidney energy is waning, it's down, their fear of things can grow.
I mean, so what we're saying is, if the kidney energy goes out of balance, well, if you're naturally more susceptible to be fearful or get the red light emotions of anxiety, you've got to be particularly careful in the winter. But also that's associated with age, because on that, would you say that as you get older, for some people, they can become more fearful of trying new things? It's like they don't want the kind of stress or, to try and so then there's a natural tendency to lock themselves down.
I think, yes.
For some people, not everyone.
I think you have to be careful when you're saying this.
Yeah.
We're not saying every person that gets out. But there is a tendency as you get older, there's like a restriction. The kidney energy starts to wane and come in, and you're less likely to want to go out at night and dark nights, do new things, push out of your comfort zone. But not everybody, of course. But be aware of that. The whole thing about this seasonal caretaking is to be aware of how the seasons can affect you and to be mindful of that. Such as something as simple as keeping your back warm, and making sure that you don't get drafts into your back. So keeping the bedroom as warm as you can, making sure you're wrapped up warm, put an extra blanket on. If you're sitting watching television, perhaps wrap a blanket over your legs or your lower back if there's any drafts in your house. So just being more aware of that can really be helpful to a lot of people.
So you mentioned if someone comes to you, say in the winter months, you'll be particularly mindful when you're doing an acupuncture treatment to tonify or to rebalance the kidney energy. Yes. In the autumn to winter months, where say the lungs are more susceptible and there's more about this kind of invasion of pathogens and wind, the wind energy, is that when you would use cupping, the glass Chinese cups?
Yeah,
more?
so cupping can be used at any time, for, I don't know whether you know cupping. It's like, well, in ancient times it used to be a bamboo cup, but now we use a glass cup, and you light a flame, you put a cotton wool onto a flame, and you take the air out, and then you put it onto the skin, and it sucks. In fact, a couple of years ago, it got quite fashionable, didn't it? Some of the film stars
because it's good for kind of muscular. When you've got a muscular sprain as well, it's good.
And I tell you, when I saw it, a couple of the tennis players at Wimbledon had cups on their shoulders, and the swimmers. So you'll see this round. It's like a love bite, and it's because they've sucked it out, and it's caused a love bite there. So cupping can be very good if you have an invasion of wind cold. So if you're going to your acupuncturist and you have a stiffness in your neck, or you think you're catching a cold.
Beginnings of a cold. Best to go when you just feel like, oh, I think I'm catching a cold, or I think I'm coming down with something. You need to get to your acupuncturist.
Because you like cupping,
as soon as possible, rather than leave the cold to fully develop.
Right. So it's almost like the idea that the Chinese talk about. You're almost sucking out the cold, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You're bringing out the cold before it gets lodged into the joint. You're bringing it out, and this is cupping. Some people love it. It's not painful. Certainly, please try it if you're going to an acupuncturist. Please try cupping. It's not painful. Some people love it. Some people don't like it. But strangely enough, it can be very, very, very relaxing.
It is.
To put the cups on, to put the cups down your back. It can be very relaxing, and most people will go to sleep. They're left with these round like love bites all down. Your partner will wonder what's been going on. But it can be very useful to bring out the cold. It can be very useful, as Alex said, for stiffness in your joints, in your hips and shoulders, for moving. What you're trying to do. You're trying to move that invasion of wind.
And so, in terms of things you can do for yourself, for the lungs, and in the autumn, making sure the lung energy is kept into balance. Would you say that's more about being mindful of breathing, how you breathe, and breathing exercises? If you can focus on that during the autumn, that will give you a good start, won't it?
I sometimes, when we're doing our Qigong class, we go through a warm-up, and which involves breathing, and I often say, take a really deep breath. Just think now, how many times this week have you really taken a deep breath and really expand your lungs, and expand your shoulder blades, and just breathe in 2 or 3? We don't do it, you see. And so just opening up your chest, opening up your lungs, opening up your shoulder blades, and just take that really deep breath. Not, 3, 4, 5 really nice, deep, long breaths, and just clear that stagnation.
If you
don't want chi stagnating.
If you could do that even twice a day, first thing in the morning and at night in bed before you go to sleep, just for 5 to 10 minutes.
Or when you're going for that walk. No, you don't have to do it so you don't have to look silly, but just be extra mindful as you're walking, and if it's a nice crisp day or even a cold day, just make sure you're not breathing in cold air. Just put a scarf around your mouth and taking a couple of really good deep, long breaths.
Of course, for those people who are struggling with this issue of letting go, holding on to stuff, that's where you hold it high in your chest, and that emotional kind of mindset has the physical effect of causing you to breathe much more shallow.
It does.
So you have to be extra mindful of your breathing.
And remember I've said this a couple of times, but I thought it was one of the greatest teachings that I received from one of the masters in China. He says, in the West, you don't breathe, you pant. So make sure you're not panting up here high in the chest. Make sure the breath is coming right down into your lower dantian. And really expand yourself, expand your ribs, and get a good, long, deep breath. And remember what we keep saying. Don't ask, how do I let go? Ask, why am I holding on? You're not being natural if you're holding on. If you're holding on to anger, resentment, grief, fear, injustice, anything that's gone on 20, 30 years in your life and you're still holding on to it, stop it. Let it go. The only one that it's hurting is you. It's like taking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. Stop it. Let it go. It's in the past. Let it go. Focus on your future. Focus on your now. Don't hold on to it. Release the grasp. Release the grasp. The mind will not want you to do this, but you're in control of the mind. Don't let the mind be in control of you.
And isn't there's a great, I know with the 8 silk and brocade Qigong exercises you teach, is it the last move, which we call the flop? But basically it's standing upright and then extending your arms fully up and then just flopping down. So it's breathing in and letting everything out.
Well, that's a good one for kidneys and lungs.
Okay.
So it's bringing your arms back like a circle, like a whirlwind, looking at the ceiling, stretching up as high as you can, bend your knees and flop
like
forward.
a rag doll.
Like a rag doll, so you're looking looking through your legs.
But also being mindful of your lower back when you're doing that.
Because obviously, like with all exercises, you do it, that's what's right for you. But that breathing in, expanding your lungs,
letting go.
and then letting go.
It's a great exercise.
And you see the experienced Qigongers in the class, they'll make this, they go, and really let go. And let go of that emotion. Throw it out of your body. And the other one that we do in the 8 silk and brocade is you turn your thumbs inside. I'll go into detail for people listening on the podcast. You bring your fingers over your thumbs, you make a fist. The back of your hands go on the kidneys, and you breathe in, and then you jump up and down, rubbing your kidneys really hard, like somebody put you in a black bag and give you a good old shake and rub the kidneys and really feel that heat of the back of your hand going into the kidneys. So it's 1 breath in, and then it's 8 shakes out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if you're interested in this, go on our, it's on YouTube, isn't it?
Well, on our website, wuweiwisdom.com, on our meditation classes page, we've got 2 Qigong videos on there. David doing Qigong
in China, wasn't
in China.
On the Li River. So you'll see, we were in Guilin and the beautiful mountains behind us.
The 8 silk and brocade exercises. So the 8 exercises, the 8 different moves, which are very straightforward. And 2 of those 8 moves are the ones David's just described. The flopping exercise, which is good for the releasing of the lung energy and deep breathing and letting go. And then the kidney rubbing exercise as well. So you can check those out. They're only short videos and they're free to watch on our meditation classes page.
Yeah. And try them. Don't worry about getting them right. Don't worry. And if you can't do the 8, just do 2 or 3. Just have a play around with them and just see how it works. And that's a nice thing about Qigong. Don't people think, you've got to do it dead right, or just do it what is right for you. Have a play around, have fun, smile and be happy. And just play around with them. Qigong exercises are great for everyone, doesn't matter how old. In China, we often smile, don't we, when we're walking around. You see, like people, they look about 100 and they're doing the 8 silk and brocade and they're getting stuck in at it, and it's great. You should do it at any age.
But for the winter then, moving on to the winter, and we've just talked about the kidney exercises, really any exercise which warm your core, so some yoga exercises that warm your core, as long as you're protecting your lower back, would be very good for supporting those organs during the winter months as well.
So in the winter months, it's definitely not the time to go through the burn. It's definitely not the time to push yourself. It's the time to be more conservative, to enjoy it, to take care of yourself more. Like the weather, you're closing down a little bit and you're looking after yourself more. Definitely the time to keep warm, to eat healthy foods, soups, casseroles, and keeping that nourishment inside of you.
Okay, so if we talk about diet then, a principle for both months really is, I guess it's a good principle throughout the year, but particularly in the winter, is keeping hydrated, because for a lot of people, the winter months can be quite dry months. So there's a kind of a dryness in the air which kind of saps, and that's why often you see kind of skin conditions and eczema flaring up and things like that. Well,
you'll definitely see skin conditions in this time of the year because it's a metal time of the year. One of the things that the lungs do is about skin. So that's why you see eczema and asthma sometimes tied together with the same person. So skin conditions now, and especially in autumn, is what you've got to keep your face moisturize. You've got to be eating food that keeps you hydrated, particularly through the metal time, the autumn time.
But not drinking lots of cold drinks, so warming teas, not fluids which are diuretic, so no like heavy coffee or strong teas. Avoiding too much salty food is obviously, will help with the hydration. And then in terms of things to eat, I mean, we said that before, we'll say it again, now is the time with the energy kind of going back down into the earth, more yin, to be eating and enjoying those root vegetables.
Root
so
vegetables
all the pumpkins,
this time of the year. Pumpkins,
marrow, squashes,
parsnips, carrots, potatoes. This is the time of the year to be soups and casseroles and all of that type of stuff, that people really love. This is the time of the year to be eating that. So
not
again,
raw foods, which are hard to digest. I think we said that on the late summer teaching.
And what the Chinese love this time of the year above all, porridge. They love their porridge. They'll have like oatmeal porridge, cornmeal porridge, warming.
Slow
they love their
to
porridge.
digest carbohydrates.
Yeah, they love their porridge.
For the metal season, the metal in autumn is associated with pungent foods.
Yes.
So garlic, cinnamon, ginger would be good things.
Curries this time of the year is quite good.
Yeah.
Not
imbalanced.
not imbalanced. Well, everything's imbalanced.
Not for every meal.
But more pungent type of taste, again, to your taste. But listen to your body. And really what Taoist philosophy, Qigong, and all of this is about having a relationship with your body. Your body's always talking to you. That's what the feelings are. They're talking to you. They're telling you whether you're doing things right or wrong. So listen to your body and don't go with other people. Somebody might love the autumn. You might hate the autumn. So go with what's right for you.
Yeah. And in terms of foods, I always find, and I know one of our group members has said, when it gets colder and darker, there's a tendency to want to kind of overindulge in kind of stodgy food, like almost like comfort eating. Is that associated with a kind of a natural thing, or is that just an excuse?
Well, there is a time that this time of the year, because you're at home more and because it's dark nights and because you perhaps have more time as in the kitchen and because all the root vegetables around and all the carbohydrates, you can overdo it. And so this goes back to what I said 10 minutes ago, appropriateness. Just be appropriate. Be a little bit cleverer in what you're doing and just balance it up. And I mean, it's just using your common sense, and don't use it as an excuse so you can eat more. So it's about being appropriate, being balanced, being in harmony, being mindful, working with the seasons. That's why we're doing these videos. Be with the seasons. Be with the seasons. Don't fight against the seasons. Work with the seasons. But don't overdo it. Doesn't matter what season you're in. Don't overdo it.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously we're coming up to Christmas, which is kind of quite demanding emotionally and physically on our energy. If we're kind of naturally slowing down a little in the colder yin months, which as we've said is quite appropriate, how do we then deal with this kind of need to have the burst of energy over Christmas and maybe going out to more social events or organising dinners for families?
Well, this is the time now, you see, where you plan.
Yeah.
This is the time of year for planning ahead, for looking at those type of years. So, for instance, in your family, if Christmas is a busy time when people are coming to you and you suddenly get 10 people around the dining table when you're normally used to 3 or 4, this is the time to plan now. This is the time to think ahead.
How can I make this as easy as possible for me?
What can I cook and to freeze or half cook and put away? How can I make this so?
Because we've written several articles for magazines on this.
Absolutely.
How do we deal with Christmas stress of families coming together and all that sort of stuff, or the being wanted to be perfect with the Christmas meal. And obviously, forget about perfection, but very much the more you can plan in advance, the more easier you can make life for yourself.
Well, exactly. And this time of the year is that time to plan, to think ahead, to think about if you want to have Christmas and you're the type of family that loves to have your family around and you're the cook, for instance, or you're the one that does the most cooking, enjoy the family as well. So it's nothing wrong with planning ahead and looking for food that you can pre-cook or half do and then finish off on Christmas morning or Boxing Day or whenever the family is coming round for you. So this is the time now just to be a little bit more clever, box clever, you know, and think about yourself. So again, this is the time to nourish yourself. So don't be harsh on yourself. Take care of yourself. Keep yourself warm.
Get your
healthy.
Expectations authentic and sensible about what's possible at this time of year.
And can we just talk about sleep before?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So sleep this time of the year. Now, please, you know, if your normal bedtime is, I don't know, say 11 o'clock, don't be against going to bed a bit earlier. It's dark nights, you know, and dark mornings. If you can, perhaps try going to bed a bit earlier, even if it's something like putting the earphones in and listening to an audio book or something. But just give your body time to regenerate and perhaps spend a little bit more time sleeping by going to bed a half an hour, 45 minutes earlier than you normally would do. Don't expect it to work the first night. Give yourself a couple of nights.
It comes back to this thing of people expecting they can just push through the seasons and regardless and carry on with their normal routine because they place this false expectations on themselves.
Yes.
But I guess the whole message of this video has been you have to adjust and attune to the season. So how can you best do that? That is proper self-care and proper self-nurturing, really.
Can I give you a teaching that a monk said to me once? And he said, and we were talking about something different. He said, David Lee, that's what I used to call it. David Lee, there are no mysteries in the universe. Just look out the window. And this is really good to what we're saying. Look at what nature does this time of the year and copy nature. Just be like nature and do what nature does. So when it draws in, when the nights draw in and it's dark mornings, if you can, that's appropriate to you, do the same. Now, you can't always, so you make adjustments. So perhaps, you know, you spend a little bit more time at home, or you go to bed a half an hour earlier, or if you can, you stay a half an hour longer in bed. You make those adjustments if possible. If it's not possible, then you adjust other parts of your lives. So if you're a person that really loves going out for a brisk walk, and you used to going out on summer mornings at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, perhaps you do that same walk at lunchtime. So you make those little adjustments.
And enjoy it.
Absolutely.
I mean, I always say, you know, I don't think I could live in a country where there was no seasons. I think we're blessed to have seasons.
Absolutely.
And it's about making the most of them, as you say, and adapting to them. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground there.
Yeah. I hope it wasn't too much for you.
No. And we've also, I'm going to put some links with the video. We've got 2 blog posts already on our website, one for autumn health and harmony, one for winter health and harmony. So I will put links to those on. If you've got any more questions and comments, please post them below and let us know. Or we covered loads of tips there. So please tell us which of the tips you found the most useful or helpful.
Or share with others, you know, share your tips, what you love doing. Do you love a log fire? Do you like curling up with a blanket around you and watching a good film? What is it that you love? Share with the rest of the group.
About autumn and winter, absolutely.
You know,
we'd
we can all share.
Love to hear.
And if I can just remind you of one thing, we are a part of nature. We're not apart from it. So act appropriately and harmonise yourself with what's going on around you.
Great. Thanks, David. We'll see you very soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.